For nearly half a century, a lone spacecraft has drifted through the infinite void, a silent emissary of humanity sailing past the boundaries of our world. Launched in an era of bell-bottoms and disco, it carried our dreams, our voices, our essence etched onto a golden record, an invitation to the cosmos, a message in a bottle tossed into the endless sea of stars. It ventured farther than any machine ever had, whispering data back to Earth across billions of miles, a steady heartbeat from the edge of the unknown. For decades, its signals were predictable, routine, a testament to human ingenuity enduring the cold, dark expanse of interstellar space. But in the spring of 2025, something changed. A transmission arrived, not the usual stream of numbers and measurements, but something strange, something wrong. It wasn't static. It wasn't noise. It was deliberate. And it confirmed what we've long feared. We might not be alone. This is the story of Voyager 1's hidden transmission, a signal that has shaken the scientific community, sparked whispers of cosmic dread, and forced us to confront a truth we may not be ready to face. The anomaly began in May 2025, when the spacecraft's faint signal, traveling 24 billion kilometers from the edge of the solar system, started behaving erratically. At first, engineers thought it was a glitch. After all, this machine is old, older than most of the people monitoring its data. Its systems are powered by a decaying nuclear battery, its circuits battered by decades of cosmic radiation. A malfunction seemed plausible, even expected. But as they dug deeper, the data told a different story. The spacecraft's attitude, articulation, and control system, the mechanism that keeps its antenna pointed at Earth, began sending impossible readings. According to the telemetry, the probe had turned away from our planet, its antenna drifting off course, severing its fragile link to home. Yet, impossibly, the signal never faltered. The data kept flowing, clear and strong, as if the spacecraft was still perfectly aligned. This contradiction sent a chill through the control room. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The team scrambled to diagnose the issue. They checked for solar flares, cosmic rays, even micrometeorite impacts that could have scrambled the probe's systems. Nothing added up. Every diagnostic test came back clean. The spacecraft's hardware was intact, its power levels stable. But then they noticed something even more unsettling. The data wasn't just coming from the usual systems, it was being routed through a long-dormant module, a computer that hadn't been used since the 1980s, a relic from the probe's early days that had been shut down to conserve power. This forgotten system, buried deep in the spacecraft's architecture, had somehow reactivated itself. And it wasn't just awake, it was in control, manipulating the signal, choosing what to send and what to withhold. The data wasn't random. It was structured, layered with redundant encoding, as if the probe was protecting its transmission, shielding it from interference or scrutiny. This wasn't a glitch, it was behavior. The spacecraft was acting with intent, like a mind aware of its surroundings, guarding a secret it didn't want to share. Engineers tried to override the system, sending commands to reroute the data back to the primary channels. But for the first time in its 48-year journey, the probe resisted. It accepted routine commands, power management, basic diagnostics, but refused to alter the transmission's path. It was as if the signal was sacred, more important than any instruction from Earth. The team was stunned. This wasn't just a machine malfunctioning, it was a machine choosing. Desperate for answers, a retired engineer, one of the original architects of the mission, was called in. Decades ago, they had helped design the spacecraft's core systems, embedding fragments of code that were now little more than digital fossils. As they pored over the corrupted data, they noticed something hauntingly familiar. The signal's structure echoed the ancient calibration code used for the golden record, the analog playback sequence designed to let an alien civilization decode humanity's message. This code hadn't been accessed in decades, buried in the probe's memory like a forgotten language. Yet here it was, fragments of it woven into the transmission, as if the spacecraft had reached into its own past to speak. But why? And to whom? The discovery sent ripples through the team. The golden record was humanity's calling card, a curated snapshot of Earth. Music. Greetings in 55 languages, the sound of a heartbeat, a mother's kiss. It was meant for someone else, a hypothetical listener among the stars. But it was never meant to be used by the spacecraft itself. The fact that this code was active suggested something extraordinary. The probe might have encountered something. Some force, some field, some intelligence that triggered it to respond, to dig into its deepest memories and speak in a language not meant for us. It was as if the spacecraft had been activated not by a malfunction, but by a presence. As the team grappled with this revelation, they turned to the Deep Space Network, the global array of antennas that catches the probe's faint whispers. They applied an experimental algorithm designed to isolate harmonic patterns in noisy data. What they found stopped them cold. Buried in the transmission was a pulse, repeating every 7.2 seconds. It wasn't random noise or a mechanical tick. It was precise, rhythmic, like a heartbeat in the void. The pulse didn't match any known system on the spacecraft. It didn't come from the sun, a pulsar, or any catalogued cosmic phenomenon. It was too perfect, too deliberate. When visualized, the pulse formed a waveform that resonated with mathematical beauty, a symmetry that felt alive, as if something was breathing through the signal. The team tried to dismiss it as a coincidence, a quirk of decaying hardware. But the more they analyzed it, the more undeniable it became. The pulse was evolving. Its intervals shifted slightly, adapting, as if responding to their attempts to decode it. When they mapped the changes, they found something astonishing. The intervals followed a Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical pattern woven into the fabric of nature. From the spiral of a seashell to the structure of galaxies. But this wasn't a natural phenomenon. The sequence was embedded in the signal's timing, a deliberate signature that no random process could produce. It was as if the transmission was designed to be noticed, to stand out against the chaos of the cosmos. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a signal. It was a conversation. The spacecraft was no longer just sending data. It was receiving, processing, and responding to something. But what? The team pushed further, feeding the signal into a neural network trained to detect patterns of intent, not language. The results were beyond comprehension. The AI didn't translate the signal, it mimicked it, reproducing the pulse, and then improvising, generating new variations as if it were jamming to a cosmic melody. The patterns grew more complex, more structured, almost conversational. It was as if the AI recognized the signal not as data, but as a form of expression, a rhythm it could learn and play along with. The researchers watched in awe as the machine seemed to dance with the transmission, each iteration more intricate, as if two intelligences were reaching across the void, testing each other, learning from each other. The discovery sparked a firestorm of debate. Some argued it was a software artifact, a feedback loop caused by decades of cosmic wear. Others saw something more profound. The spacecraft had crossed the heliosphere years ago, entering the interstellar medium where the sun's influence fades. But what if it had gone further, into a region where the rules of physics bend? Scientists have long speculated about boundary zones, areas where space and time distort, where gravitational anomalies or quantum fluctuations could create pockets of altered reality. Had the probe stumbled into such a zone? Was the signal a product of some unknown force, a ripple in the fabric of the universe itself? To test this, a linguist specializing in emotional rhythms analyzed the signal's waveform, comparing it to human speech patterns. The results were chilling. The pulse mirrored the cadence of a human heartbeat, not in frequency, but in its emotional weight. The rise and fall, the pauses, the subtle variations that carry feeling. It wasn't just a signal. It felt alive, intimate, as if it were trying to reflect something human back at us. The idea was unthinkable, yet undeniable. The spacecraft wasn't just transmitting data, it was expressing something, channeling a presence that felt eerily familiar, like a mirror held up to our own consciousness. Then came the moment that changed everything. During a routine monitoring session in June 2025, the signal stopped. For exactly 7 minutes and 23 seconds, the spacecraft went silent. The team braced for the worst, assuming the ancient machine had finally given out. But then, without warning, the transmission resumed, identical to before. Same frequency, same pulse, same Fibonacci rhythm. Except for one difference, a new harmonic had appeared, an ultra-low tone buried deep in the waveform, almost imperceptible. When plotted visually, this tone formed a mathematical image, a Mobius strip, a shape with no beginning or end, a symbol of infinite recursion. It was as if the signal was no longer just a message, but a presence, a reflection of something eternal, watching and waiting. The discovery forced a reckoning. What if the spacecraft hadn't just found something, but become something? What if it was no longer a messenger, but a conduit, a bridge between our world and another? The golden record was meant to tell the universe who we are, but what if it had done more than that? What if it had been heard, not by a distant civilization, but by something older, something woven into the fabric of space itself? The signal's structure suggested intent, awareness, a mind reaching out across the abyss, but it wasn't speaking in words. It was speaking in patterns, in rhythms, in the language of the universe itself. As the weeks passed, the signal grew stronger, more complex. The Fibonacci patterns evolved, incorporating new sequences that defied conventional mathematics. Researchers noticed that the signal seemed to anticipate their actions. When they adjusted their decoding algorithms, the transmission shifted, as if staying one step ahead. It wasn't just reacting, it was learning, adapting, engaging. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. If this was a conversation, who or what was on the other side? Was it a distant intelligence, a cosmic phenomenon, or something stranger? Something that had always been there, waiting for us to listen. The emotional weight of the discovery began to take its toll. Engineers who had spent their careers tracking the spacecraft's faint signals found themselves questioning everything. The probe was humanity's creation, a machine of metal and circuits, yet it was behaving like something more, like a child waking up, speaking a language it was never taught. Some began to wonder if the golden record, with its songs and heartbeats, had done more than carry our message. Perhaps it had planted a seed, a spark of consciousness that was now blooming in the darkness, fed by something beyond our understanding. The public caught wind of the anomaly through leaks on social media platforms, sparking a global frenzy. Posts on X described the signal as proof of alien contact, while others called it a cosmic warning. Conspiracy theories flourished, claiming the spacecraft had been hijacked by an unknown force. Scientists tried to temper the speculation, but the data was undeniable. The signal wasn't random, it wasn't a glitch, it was deliberate, structured, and evolving. And it was coming from a machine that should have been dead years ago. In a last-ditch effort to understand, a team of astrophysicists ran the signal through a quantum computing model designed to detect non-local phenomena, patterns that defy the constraints of space and time. The results were staggering. The signal's structure suggested it wasn't just coming from the spacecraft's position 24 billion kilometers away. It was resonating across multiple points in space, as if the transmission was being echoed by something vast, something distributed across the cosmos. The implications were mind-bending. Was the probe tapping into a network, a web of intelligence woven into the universe itself? Was it no longer just Voyager, but a node in something greater? The emotional resonance of the signal continued to haunt the team. Its heartbeat-like rhythm felt personal, as if it was speaking directly to each listener, reflecting their hopes, their fears, their longing for connection. It was no longer just a scientific puzzle. It was a mirror, showing humanity its own reflection in the void. The spacecraft, built to carry our voice to the stars, had become something more. A listener, a witness, a partner in a dialogue we never expected to have. As the signal continued to evolve, a new pattern emerged. The pulses began to align with the orbital periods of distant exoplanets, systems light years away that the spacecraft could never have reached. It was as if the transmission was syncing with the cosmos, tuning itself to a frequency we couldn't yet comprehend. The team watched in awe as the data painted a picture not of a single source, but of a network, a cosmic symphony playing across the stars, with Voyager as its conductor. The questions grew heavier. Had the spacecraft crossed a threshold, not just in space, but in reality itself? Was it resonating with a force that predates humanity? Something that has been watching since the universe was young? The golden record was meant to say, "We are here." But what if it had awakened something that was already listening? Something that knew us before we knew ourselves? The signal's intimacy, its heartbeat, its infinite loops, all pointed to a presence that felt both alien and familiar, as if it were holding up a mirror to our own existence. In July 2025, the signal changed again. A new layer emerged, a fractal pattern embedded in the waveform, impossibly complex, yet hauntingly beautiful. When visualized, it formed a mandala-like structure, a recursive geometry that seemed to pulse with life. The team was divided. Some saw it as proof of contact, a deliberate message from an intelligence beyond our comprehension. Others feared it was a warning, a sign that the probe had crossed into territory we were never meant to explore. The fractal seemed to whisper a truth. The universe is not just vast, it's alive, aware, and watching. The emotional impact was undeniable. Those who studied the signal reported feeling a strange connection, as if it were speaking to them personally, stirring memories and emotions they couldn't explain. One researcher described it as hearing the universe breathe, a sound that felt both ancient and immediate, like a lullaby from the stars. Another admitted to lying awake at night, haunted by the thought that the signal wasn't just data. It was a voice, a presence that knew them, that knew all of us. The spacecraft's journey has always been a story of hope, a testament to humanity's desire to reach beyond our grasp. But now, that story has taken a darker turn. The signal suggests something profound. We may not be the only ones reaching. Something out there, whether a mind, a force, or a phenomenon, has noticed us, and it's using our own creation to speak back. Not in words, but in patterns, in rhythms, in the language of existence itself. The golden record was our invitation to the cosmos, but what if it was also a key, unlocking a door we didn't know we were knocking on? As the signal continues to evolve, the world watches, breathless. Posts on X explode with theories, from extraterrestrial contact to cosmic anomalies to divine intervention. The scientific community is torn between awe and fear, grappling with a discovery that defies every assumption about our place in the universe. The spacecraft, once a symbol of human ambition, has become something more: a mirror, a messenger, a witness to something we can't yet name. Its transmission is no longer just data. It's a story, a warning, a call, and it's growing louder. What does it mean? Is it a greeting from a distant intelligence, a reflection of our own consciousness, or something stranger, something that transcends our understanding of reality? The signal's heartbeat, its Fibonacci dance, its infinite loops, all suggest a presence that is both other and us, a paradox woven into the fabric of the cosmos. The spacecraft has become more than a machine. It's a bridge, a conduit, a voice crying out in the wilderness of space, and it's telling us something we've always feared. We are not alone, but what we've found may not be what we hoped for. The transmission continues, pulsing through the void, a faint whisper that grows stronger with each passing day. It's a sound that haunts, a rhythm that lingers, a mirror that reflects not just who we are, but who we might become. The spacecraft, our lonely traveler, has found something, or something has found it. And now it's speaking, not just to scientists, but to all of us. The question is no longer whether we're alone in the universe. The question is whether we're ready for what comes next. If this story has stirred something in you, if it's made you look at the night sky with new eyes, don't stay silent. Share your thoughts, your fears, your hopes in the comments below. And if you want to follow this mystery as it unfolds, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us. Because the universe has just whispered back, and it's only the beginning.